Hello, everyone. Welcome to new Federal State of China English program, Fringe. This is the episode 481. Today is it Thursday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. Tuesday. July 4th of July, actually, 2023, actually is the Independent Day of America. Happy holidays to all of our audience. And my name is Julia. My handsome co-host is Jairus. I will pass the phone to him to say something to us.
Hello, Julia. Hello, Director. Happy birthday, America, the United States, the USA. We're talking with some neighbors. We have a WhatsApp group. We were celebrating the birthday of the America. I said, as an immigrant, I'm very grateful for America that received me and offered me many opportunities. I really appreciate it. It's my privilege to do today's broadcast, celebrate the Independence Day, 247 Independence Day, America.
Yeah, we just calculated. Thank you, Jairus. We just calculated. Yes, it's 247th birthday of America. Really a great celebration for all American people. It's a great America. Yeah, I'm not as fortunate as Jairus. I'm in Australia and not in America, but I always adore America because it's a great nation. It's the beaming tower. A light for all the people around the world for independence, for a love of freedom. So today, since it's the Independent Day for America, we'd like to talk about the independence of America. Yeah, as we know, just talk a little bit about the history. I learned all this from my history book, actually, when I was in the, high school. I know the Declaration of Independence was a great document. It was approved by the Continental Congress today, 247 years ago. That was 1776. And the document announced the separation of 13 North American British colonies from Great Britain. And the document, has many, great points, but the main three basic points, and that is it's a fundamental for human. And I'd like to read it. I put it here in my document. And first it says, God made all men equal and give them the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Wow. And the second main point, the main business of government is to protect these rights. Wow. Third, if a government tries to withhold these rights, the people are free to revolt the government and set new one. So from this, you can see government is selected by people and serve people. The main purpose is to serve people, to protect people's rights. What rights? The rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This document, I think it was one of the greatest documents in mankind history. And if we look at today's America, we are a bit worried about America, to be very honest. And that's why, like Jairus, like myself, like our director Flower, and many others, millions of us, are so brave to show us up and fight for freedom, not only for in what is happening in China, the tyranny, the country of tyranny, the CCP. Not only that, but also America, because the CCP has infiltrated every part into every corner of America, especially most important to the judicial system, the government agencies, and all others, even churches. We talk about this, and we know that. So American people's lives have been compromised, and you may not feel so, but it doesn't mean it will not be like that. It is happening already, and it is going to be much worse if no one is talking about it, because a lot of sellouts in American government agencies, judicial systems, churches, we talk about all these, if we don't, point out who are the real American sellouts, not only the American people are suffering, and the rest of the world are suffering, including our Chinese people. And that's why we are so brave to talk about this today. And before I pass this to Jairus, please let our director to show us a video first. Thank you.
Nicole, great having you on. I want to let you and the new federal state of China, all of you wonderful patriots, to have a beautiful 4th of July. One day, we're going to be celebrating y'all's independence. We're definitely going to be celebrating your independence from CCP.
Well, thanks for coming, Nicole. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for being so inspirational for us, Nicole, because when I see Americans give up on the country and their freedoms, and I see what the folks in China are fighting for, it inspires me to continue the fight.
Thank you so much. Our independence is your independence, because America is now dependent on CCP economically. So this country is no longer independent. And so that's why we have to fight when we are truly independent of the CCP. And that is a time when America will also be independent again. So let's remember this. And I hope all of you, your family and friends, and all of your wonderful viewers have a wonderful 4th of July and happy 4th of July.
Yeah, happy 4th of July. So now I think Jared has a lot to share with us. Jared, please.
Yes, I will see a couple of things from listening War Room the other days. One is, what impressed me the most, I believe probably it was the case for many other firefighters who follow a War Room. In the commercial beginning, in the very beginning of the War Room, Stephen Bannon said why he was putting this fight, why he was investing all his lifetime to this fight, because he wanted America will be safe. There are other voice from the other side of the camps. They said they accuse the lies of MAGA media, but Bannon's reaction is, my only goal is to have this country be safe. America will be safe. This is a powerful message. I know Stephen Bannon is a Catholic. This slogan not only circulating in political circles, but it's also circulating in a prayer movement I follow closely. One of the leaders in this prayer movement in America is called Dutch Sheets. He's a pastor, but he shares a lot of things on this line. America shall be safe. He shared prophetic dreams and revelations that one day the revival will come to America, and then America will be saved. So there are always two aspects. So I think Stephen K. Bannon always is more lean to the political aspects, but Dutch Sheets' version is more prone to the spiritual aspect. You cannot separate these two. If you want to be a free nation, you have to fight for it. Like 247 years ago, many people took courage to fight for it. There were people reportedly 1/3 of people was loyal to the British anarchy. 1/3 of people were indifferent, like us, and I don't care. I don't care who win, either British or America. I just care about my own business. Then the only another 1/3 of people were fighting hard for independence. So this is a 1/3, 1/3 rule. Is the so I mentioned a couple times. Is probably similar to our situation. Maybe we have 1/3 of people, Chinese people, including overseas Chinese or the firefighters within China. Maybe 1/3 of people were following us or supporting us. Maybe another 1/3 of people, they don't care. I think there are large amount of people, could be true, 1/3, even more. They are indifferent. They don't care. They just care their business, or they are a little afraid to lose what they have right now. They don't want to put their life or their income, their comfort at risk on the line, right? And then but we are the 1/3 of people, the firefighters, who were called by God and take this fight to fight for the independence of the Chinese nation as a nation, or as an ethnic group, or whatever you say. We are taking the torch from the the founders of the United States. We are fighting this fight to win the freedom, the Chinese people. But not only so, like Nicole said very well in her interview, we are fighting together with the American patriots to gain the freedom from the either infiltration or a dictatorship of the CCP, both in China and outside of China. We are fighting together for this freedom. So in this juncture, in this history juncture, it's very crucial to talk about the independence of America. We probably can share more of this on this line, but I will stop here and hand it back to Julia, and then we can continue the conversation. I definitely, have more to say about this. Thank you.
Thanks, Jairus. Great sharing. Thanks so much. When you talk about 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, I was laughing. Probably you noticed that, because you know what? I was when I was in a cooking class. Actually, I learned this method: 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. The trainer said if you mix two things together, or if you mix some flour into some already mixed things, you don't put them all into it, because you cannot mix it well. So the rule of law is the rule of thumb is 1/3, and mix, and then another 1/3, mix, one is mixed well, and then last part. It makes sense. It really makes sense. You can't have all together mix. It's a chaos. So we belong to the 1/3, and we are very proud, because we know from our heart, freedom is never free. Our ancestors, or our founders, they fought for us. And for us, we can't be so selfish just to enjoy whatever we inherited from them. We have to fight for our freedom and for our children's freedom as well, so that our children will not have to do this, like Jairus, me doing broadcasts, fighting for those, tyranny, those, evil forces, so they can enjoy life. Yes, like I said, freedom is never free, and it's not for our Chinese when we talk about fighting. We are also talking about the American people, because as Jairus and also Nicole and many others said already, we are together. We can't separate, because the CCP actually is from our country of origin, right? And they are doing the evil things to harm the whole world, especially America. And for us, we can't just look at it and see it's happening, even though we are enjoying freedom outside of mainland China already. We have the duty, like the guy on the bicycle in the Tiananmen massacre. During Tiananmen massacre, he was very brave, and he was interviewed. He was riding bicycle, and people asked him, "Why you are doing this?" He said, "It's my duty," and that's already like a viral everywhere. It's our duty. We have the responsibility to do so. We are human. We can't be just sitting there and enjoy. So when we say we belong to the 1/3, we are so proud. And then the next part would be those who are indifferent, and they will see, wow, this is great. I want to join, and they will join. So when the 2/3 of the flour mixed well, the last part, the part that may be against all what we are doing, maybe join us eventually to be waken up. And that is so true. So for that, it also reminds me, this 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Thank you, Jerris. It also reminds me we have to be patient. It takes time. So what we can do is to keep fighting. Yeah, and it will happen eventually. All mixed well. Okay, back to Jerris. Jerris, I'm losing your voice.
Okay, let's if Director Flower can play a picture, I'll start sharing while she's preparing the picture. Sharing about the American Independence Day and sharing the line of thought on the history of American independence. And also, I heard this story from Dutch Sheets. He mentioned in one of his program called Game 15, devoting 15 minutes of prayer time every day to encourage American Christians to prepare for their revival. I heard this story. This story came into a right time where I was struggling if I should stand up to join the whistleblower movement, because I told you this many times, the story. I was struggling. I didn't want to participate in any political movement because I saw my calling was only to serve God in a Christian circle, church circle. So I don't want to be controversial. I don't want to be joining any political movement, hindering me going back to China freely. So I can join this Chinese revival God called me to. God showed me many revelation regarding this. I know for sure it's my calling, but I did not know God's providence or the way He provided is for me to use the platform set up by a whistleblower movement to preach the gospel. Also, He wanted me to not only speak about the faith, but really join the social justice movement. I was a little bit indifferent to the social justice. I did not care so much about the poor or the people who are oppressed. I just want to be in my spiritual ivory tower, do my own spiritual thing behind a four wall, not involving in any controversial thing. So that she shares in line about America will be saved. And he shared a very touching story of in the fight of independence, America, the war against the British. So this, so the background is like this. So the fight was not looking good for the continental troops. So George Washington sent a message to this person. His name, let me pronounce this name. His name is Peter Mauhenberg. Peter Mauhenberg. He's a priest in the Episcopal Church, or is it England official church. So in order for him to be ordained, he had to study in London to get the certification to be able to preach. So among his congregation is the one-third rule, probably. One-third people were very loyal to the British monarchy, and one-third was indifferent. Why do you join this controversial movement? Another one-third people, they want to fight. So George Washington sent a message for him to start a troop. So he started a troop. This troop is called this troop called the 8th Virginia Regiment. Was raised beginning on 11th January 1776. So this is the famous picture. So a little exaggerated, but this story really touched me. He came to the church wearing his priest's robe on the outside, but he did his military uniform inside. So when he went to the church to preach, and he preached on Exodus, I don't know how to pronounce this well, Exodus 3. The verse says like this. Let me read a few verses. In Chinese, 传道书 3. So there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to uproot, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to tear down, and time to build, a time to weep and time to laugh, a time to mourn and time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search, a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tire and time to mend, a time to be silent, a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war, a time for peace. So, and he threw his priest robe, and he summoned the church members to join him for his fight for American independence. He said, "This is God's providence. We have to do this. So it's time for us to preach, but now it's for us to fight." I was very, very overcome, very touched, because I was not brave enough. I was only thinking to preaching, but I was very touched. I heard this from God's calling. Yes, it was a time to preach, just to speak merely the words, but now it's time to fight. So I was very encouraged. I used this picture on my GTV account. I started to register GTV account and put this picture as my picture. I was not ready to show my face at that time. I was very encouraged. I said, I felt the calling like the American founders were called. They were called to fight for independence of a new country, a country set on the hill, to be a light nation. I was very encouraged. I felt the calling from God. I'm fighting for the independence of the Chinese people of China. I'm fighting for a new nation. A nation will rise on the hill in the east to be a shining light for the nation in East Asia, to be a testimony of God. So I felt the strong calling. So I overcame my fear. I use this as my profile picture. I felt the same calling the American founders felt at that time. So in today's independence of America, I'll use Nicole's word and others, the co-host word. One day, American brothers and sisters will celebrate our Independence Day. I know we always also have we already have July 4th as our days of founding of new federal state of China. But there will be one day we will see the final victory, and we will celebrate that day. I was revealed by God through prophetic revelation. One day I will see this happen. I was taken into the future in this revelation. A group of people who came to thank me in the dream said, "Thank you for standing up at that time. Thank you for your preaching. Your preaching helped us to win this battle." So I know for sure from God, this will eventually win. I will play my part in it. I just want to share this story to fellow audiences. We Chinese fellow fighters are in the same shoes of this Peter Mahenberg, and his statue is exactly the picture. It still reside today in Virginia. I live in Maryland. It's not far from me. I haven't visited his statue yet, but in a small town in Virginia. Maybe one day the fellow fighter who lives in Virginia or East area, we should pay tribute. We should visit this his hometown and his home church to pay our respect to him, because he represents the 1/3 of people who felt God's calling and stood up, because it was not easy. So sorry, I became a little emotional because I recalled my hard journey to join whistleblower movement. So I'll hand the mic back to Julia again. Thank you.
I try not to be emotional, but I couldn't, force it. Yeah, what a great sharing, from Jairus. What a great revelation and what great testimony. I've been to America 3 times, but I've never been to Virginia. But I know next time, which is the most important town I want to go. That's the town, the little town I want to go and stay there for a few days. I want to spend some private time with Pete. I can't remember pronounce it either, but I know this gentleman. We have a thing, maybe not a good illustration, but a little bit similar. We say in China, if someone is not how to say it, at the beginning he's on the other direction, and you try to call him to this direction, and he tries to go that direction. But once he knows, he got the revelation, he knows that this is the right direction, he will bypass you, he will run very fast, something like that. And in Chinese, it's like 浪子回头金不换. Even gold cannot change what he is doing. He will do whatever it costs to go to the right direction. And that is the 1/3, the last 1/3 that are still sleeping at this moment. But we are always patient. We love them as well, and we know it takes time. And even from these, we know we have to action more, because we got, like Peter, he got the calling, and he got it the order from Washington. So he knew what he wanted to do. And for us, the same thing. We know what we have to do, especially when my school is in the federal detention center still for over 3 months already, which is just, insane. So we know we have to fight harder for every one of us, because it's the calling from God. Yeah. So I think Jairus is good to continue. He has prepared for our second very, very important topic. I'll pass it to Jairus now. Thank you, Jairus.
Yeah, I think the first topic is very important today. So we don't know if we have enough time for the second topic, but we'll just touch on basically. We'll play video one to see what's happening in America. Then we'll talk briefly about it. Thank you.
We begin tonight with the Supreme Court striking down affirmative action and reshaping college admissions. In a 6-3 decision, the justices ruled that Harvard University and the University of North Carolina violated the Constitution by considering race when deciding whether to admit someone to their school. A landmark case overturning nearly 50 years of precedent, the latest example of the conservative majority redefining American law, including abortion rights and guns. The ruling means higher education institutions will need to come up with new ways to create diverse student bodies. Groups of protesters, mostly made up of young adults, gathered outside the court to voice their outrage. And to underscore how monumental this case is, 6 of the 9 justices wrote opinions, many personal and strongly worded. CBS's Major Garrett has all the new details and will start us off tonight from outside the Supreme Court. Good evening, Major.
Good evening, Nora. Yes, it was personal, with justices on the touchstone issue of race talking to and past one another. This sweeping and historic ruling effectively ends affirmative action in college admissions, reversing decades of precedent that less conservative court majorities had protected, and giving colleges and universities some latitude to consider race as one factor as they sought to build more diverse student bodies. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts said admission policies at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. The student must be treated based on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race, Roberts wrote. Many universities have for too long done just the opposite. In a scathing dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor accused the court majority of ignoring history and precedent. The court cements a superficial rule of colorblindness as a constitutional principle in an endemically segregated society, where race has always mattered and continues to matter. At the White House, President Biden criticized the conservative majority.
This is not a normal court.
And said the nation must find a new way to achieve diversity in college admissions.
What I propose for consideration is a new standard, where colleges take into account the adversity a student has overcome when selecting among qualified applicants.
The opinion also exposed deep personal and ideological divisions within the court. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman to serve on the High Court, wrote in her dissent, quote, "With let them eat cake obliviousness, the majority pulls the ripcord and announces color blindness for all by legal fiat." Clarence Thomas, the court's other black justice, responded, quote, "Justice Jackson uses her broad observations about statistical relationships between race and select measures of health, wealth, and well-being to label all blacks as victims." Outside the court, students and civil rights leaders assembled to protest.
I think in this moment in time, it's important for every institution, from colleges to corporations, to commit to pledge to diversity no matter what.
Ed Bloom, the president of Students for Fair Admissions, brought the case to the court, arguing race should not factor into admissions decisions at all.
Ending racial preferences in college admissions is an outcome that the vast majority of all Americans of all races will celebrate.
CBS News polling shows that 70% of Americans think race should not be allowed as a factor in college admissions. But statistics indicate that in states that have banned affirmative action, such as California and Michigan, admissions for Black and Latino students have fallen dramatically at their most selective universities. Shruti Kumar, a student at Harvard, opposes today's court ruling.
I think the idea that our society can be colorblind is a silly one. We don't live in a perfect meritocracy.
The decision was praised by most Republican primary contenders, chief among them former President Trump, who took credit for appointing 3 of the justices in today's conservative majority. Former First Lady Michelle Obama said she'd benefited greatly from affirmative action and vowed to continue her work to build more minority inclusion in higher education. Nora?
Major Garrett on this landmark case. Thank you.
Hello. Yes. Because of time, we will not play other videos. I will just share briefly. There was 3 rulings by the High Court regarding first affirmative action. Then the second is ruling a Christian web designer. She has a freedom to oppose her own religious belief while taking their customs. The third one is the High Court vetoed, denied the Biden administration's act to forgive the student loan. So these 3 things were talked among many people living in the United States. One fellow fighter mentioned that it seems these 3 events happening in America had no direct relations with fellow fighters or the whistleblower movement, but it actually is closely involved because This is a signal of American politics, the changing direction. The conservative is winning in the high court level. That's the most important battlefield. So this will, like I mentioned to Julia in the very beginning, because in America you have a constitution written based on the Western Christian and Judeo-Christian value. Based on this, so nobody can change the constitution. So the fight has been on how to interpret the constitution. But the High Court's ruling set a very good example. They are returning to this Judaic Christian value. So this is very, very crucial. I think the conservative will gradually win more and more. This eventually will change the political atmosphere in America. It will create an opportunity to release Mao School or even lift so much persecution against the new federal state of China and the fellow fighters among us. I'll stop here temporarily. I'll give Julia some time to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jairus. Yeah, this is very, very, it's like setting a direction, which is so important. Yesterday, actually, when I look at the materials Jairus had prepared for us, I was questioning about, the student loan things, because my older son in Australia, just before the lockdown, everything was loose, not like this so strict now. So the student enjoyed very little percent, 0 point something percent of loans. So they didn't have to, pay back their debt, student debt. But nowadays it's totally different. My son told me the interest rate has been up to 7 point something, like 7.25%, which is very, very high for a student, for even just a graduate. So he paid in full several, very expensive, I think 50,000 something Australian dollars. And now I was thinking, okay, if they waive the student loans, how about my son? If in Australia they said, okay, currently we want to waive student loans. How about my son? He just paid his loan in full. So it's not fair actually for people who, like my son, who has already paid. So this is not right, I feel. So anyway, this affirmative things, I feel it's very encouraging for us. It's changing the direction, especially, these days we have a lot of negative things to our new federal state of China, especially when, when we heard, we watched about the visits, frequent visits to China from the business or government of Australia, of US. So we felt like, what are they doing? Are they decoupling, or are they coupling? Even though they say it's de-risking, but it's not de-risking. It's making it more risky, actually. But now with the Supreme Court rulings, we can feel the government. That's the best part of America. It's not like a one party you can do everything. You only have 1/3. Again, like what Jairus mentioned before, 1/3 of the power, and another party 1/3, another party 1/3, and that's the greatness of the founders of America. At the beginning, is that especially the government cannot have the full power, because the government, if it has the full power, it will abuse it, and probably everyone will eventually. And that's why we say in China the CCP is so evil, because there is no opposition at all. He can do or say or do whatever he wants, the Xi Jinping, But in America, you can see that's why we say this is a great country. It's a country with hope, and it should set examples for all the other countries. And that's why when we see CCP has been infiltrating into America in everywhere, every part, we feel so worried. We say America is a great nation, founded with great foundation. And now, especially with the Supreme Court rulings, we feel like it will be back to before. It will be great again, and it will be not depending on CCP. It will be independent again. Yeah. Back to Jairus for our last words, maybe.
Yes. Thank you, Julia. Yes. American will be independent again. This is yeah, I also heard someone was saying Stephen Bannon was asking one of his interviewees if the American founders knew the current state of America, would they still be willing to put all their life and possession at risk? They think we are fighting for be free. We don't want to be a slavery. We don't want to be slave of the British colony. We were fighting for independence. But one day the country will fall into a slave, a CCP, you fall to a different slavery state. What are we fighting for? What we are fighting for? Is it worth it? If we still end up another form of slavery, why we do this, right? That's always the question. It's like doing a circle. If we walk around, we fight all the fight for a couple hundred years, we go back to the circle, like the Israelites. They were circling in the wilderness. Does it worth it? Yes, it worth it. Even we are going circle by circle, like the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness, but each circle is different. You learn is through this circle, so these 40 years of circling in the wilderness. Every time you are still advancing, it's like a sparrow. You see you are slow, but you come back to the same point. But you are walking as a sparrow and gradually learning the lesson of faith, lesson of obedience, lesson of not worshiping idols. You're coming back to the same point, but no, one day eventually you are going higher and higher. It's like a sparrow. So I would just encourage our fellow fighters and any American patriots, if you are listening, if you are thinking the same question, did the people who died for the American freedom, their life worth it? Yes, it's worth it. It's going circle by circle, but it's going a sparrow. We are like the New Jerusalem is a sparrow circling. We're going to the New Jerusalem. Yes, because of time, our show is over. We really appreciate our Director Flower, and thank you for Julia. Again, thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you.